to congratulate one of our listeners. Donna, congratulations with your formal certification as a health coach. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to AIM for allowing me to offer my services pro bono so that I could complete my certification. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, I don't have a lot of the presentation for today. There are a lot of course, disturbing news with the rate of spread. Of course, you all probably heard that the campus, GW campus already went virtual. All the in-person classes closed, and unfortunately, a lot of other universities are following the same thread. And yeah, the spread is pretty quick. So far, it does still holds that the new variant Omicron appears to be pretty mild, but there is an expectation that the hospitals are going to start filling up just because of the sheer volume of new cases. The percent of Omicron in US is rapidly increasing, meaning that currently it's still a minor variant, meaning that Delta is still taking a majority of cases, but if nothing changes in just a few weeks, that's going to be reversed. So we are entering very unsettling season of the holidays. Unfortunately, there's expectations of many more new cases. Quick update on vaccines. Of course, you all heard about J&J vaccines, not so good. Pretty appears that the current one shot is almost completely ineffective against Omicron. Two shots of J&J and a little bit better. However, the current FDA, they haven't pulled the vaccine off yet, but they're getting close, given that the serious clots risk actually is higher than originally predicted or originally described. And so there's a very significant concern. There's also an interesting new data. I'm going to put that in for those of you guys who are very interested in this. Apparently, there's an article on in BMJ, which is a very respected journal, British medical journal, showing that Moderna does have significant risk of myocarditis or myopericarditis, Moderna vaccine, in contrast to Pfizer. Both of them do produce it. However, Moderna appears to produce it more. I'm just putting if you guys want to read this article, because that should change what we do. Personally, I'm going to be getting my Pfizer booster next week. I think Dr. Frame already got her booster. I believe so, if she's willing to tell us which one she got. But
I can tell you, both my husband and I this week got Pfizer. We had both received Pfizer previously, and we both had really great results. He had no symptoms anytime. I had extreme lethargy and long napping with the first two, but I didn't even need a nap this round. So for me, it actually got easier.
Great. So, and I'll report, I guess, after holidays about my own vaccine, how I feel. I'll come back to questions, you guys. I just want to finish real quick so I don't forget anything that I particularly wanted to bring up. I think I have one more update, and that is, so yeah, there's an English study, which I'm not sure where that link is, that appears that actually crossover appears to be more effective than crossover of mRNA vaccines, not the J&J. So Pfizer to Moderna, Moderna to Pfizer. I don't think that the new data on slight increase in pericarditis makes much of a difference. It's a very small increase. I'm getting Pfizer just because logistically it seems to be easier for me. I'm going to be at work and I'm going to get it when I'm there. But I guess it's what I'm trying to say is get mRNA vaccine, forget the J&J. Unfortunately, it appears to be more problematic and just it seems to be quite weakly protective against Omicron compared to the mRNA. So the other crazy thing I've heard have nothing to do with COVID, but it sounds like this technology is going to skyrocket. I just saw an announcement that there's a mRNA Lyme vaccine that's been created. It's already in the clinical use. It's been in the trials and they're already asking FDA to approve it, which is pretty fascinating. And it's not a vaccine as prophylaxis. You get it only if you got exposed to the tick. So it's a short-lived, quick boosting of immunity if you got bitten and you worry about it, instead of taking doxycycline, which is quite ineffective at prevention of Lyme, you can get this vaccine. So it's just it's not necessarily that I haven't looked into this deeper, but it tells you that we're going to see a rapid expansion of this technology, I believe, over the next decades. Questions. So question number one, I think from Cecile. So I think I'm yet waiting to see how bad is the Omicron will be in terms of severity of clinical illness. So I don't think I recommend prophylactically taking it anymore, but definitely take NAC at the onset of COVID if you do get it. That's for sure. And so that stays. Serious clots are from the Johnson & Johnson. There's a complex illness called thrombocyte. I'm having a hard time in the last couple of days with long words. I'm not sure why. Thrombocytopenic purpura. It's a particular form of a clotting disorder, which is very rare and has no cure and can be deadly. So, okay, Kathy had a question. What do we do with if you're exposed? Okay. So there's a couple of different ways to look at this. If you are in a household where everybody's vaccinated and you're exposed and you're not planning going anywhere, it's very questionable whether you have to quarantine against other people in your household. It's not very clear. I think the standard idea is if you are going to, because in essence, it's kind of hard to do because you're going to be you're not going to know at the moment when you're exposed, right? So you're going to come home and you're going to expose people. If you learn 24 hours, 48 hours later, whether or not that you've been exposed, you're already in too close of a communication with your household members. However, if you do know, I think the recommendation is still 7 to 10 days. And from people you are not exposed, have not been exposed previously. I did not see any updates as to whether or not you have to be regularly tested. I think that testing at this point is very individual. If you do need to do something that requires you to be tested, for example, you work in a settings where for whatever reason the decision is that quarantine is impractical or just they're not going to do it, then definitely you need to be tested on a regular basis. But if not, I think the quarantine probably makes a lot more sense. And I'm not sure what the additional idea of testing would be on top of that. Now, when you're going back to work in certain scenarios, it may be worth getting tested just to make sure that, especially if you're in a healthcare settings. Kathy, is that good enough of an answer? Or do you want anything particularly added to this?
No, that's fine. That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Benita's, let me see. Did I skip it? It's clots. Okay, I got that. Thanks, Janet. And you felt okay from your Pfizer booster?
My reaction was like Lee's the first time. I was very lethargic, and I needed to take a nap. You are not, honey. You are not.
Right.
But this was also your first Pfizer, right? Because you did J&J before.
Correct.
Okay, so at least theoretically, what Janet did is supposed to be more protective than if she were to get the Johnson & Johnson booster. This seems to be pretty clear at this point. Okay, so if Omicron is mild and so many people are vaccinated thanks to mandates, why are, well, Benita, you and I'm in exactly the same way. I think the market is panicking. People are panicking now. I understand why institutions are closing. That's for practical reasons. You don't want to have, hundreds, if not thousands, students being infected running around. It just creates a logistical nightmare for testing, for operations. Plus, of course, not every student, they're going to be senior teachers. They're going to be older adults and some. So you have to protect those in the institutions. But why is there organizational panic on a grand level? I think the concern is more in what is this going to mean on a grand scale? Are we going to start seeing spikes in mortality again? I think that the panic is uncertainty based. It's not necessarily based in the current science, because the current science, the only thing we know, we have a massive increase in cases, hasn't so far filled the hospital from Omicron. Hospitals are filling up from Delta in certain parts of the country, not from Omicron, not yet. But some predictions are saying that the hospitals will start filling up with sort of a mild to moderate cases, because of course in highly susceptible individuals with weakened immune system, etc., may have more severe illness. So we yet to see this. The only study I so far reviewed is the one I told you about last week, which is the South African study showing that there hasn't been any serious cases. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, we do understand already why Omicron seems to be milder in the way it affects lungs. Apparently, it attaches itself differently to the lining of the lungs, and that probably is the reason why. So it seems to be less, the attachment where it goes inside the lungs occurs lower, and when it occurs lower, we have more cellular cells of immune cells to protect us. So it sort of takes a little longer for it to attach, and thus there's more time to clear it. So that's the current thinking. Okay. Thanks for booster tip. Hydrate like crazy. Remember, we also talked about particular homeopathic and supplement prep. I guess if you want, send me a personal message. I'll resend to those who are interested. If you already have it, that's fine. Thanks, Janet, for the donations. Link there. And let's see, there's a couple of more questions, right? What should you do if the home test comes back positive and it's Christmas Eve? Oh. You guys putting me on a spot today. What do I know? I mean, I'm gonna hopefully not have that situation in my household. Well, you got to think about symptoms, right? Forget the tests. You guys don't get stuck on the tests. If you're asymptomatic, you shouldn't be tested unless you know you're exposed. But if you're exposed, then you're in your own household. Remember what I just said? The problem with testing asymptomatic people is that the rapid tests are useless. Their sensitivity, so their accuracy of picking up a true positive case is less than 50%. They should not be rushed.
Misha, you're at the 1 minute mark.
Thank you. So yeah, I say if you're sick, you're gonna have to address that. If you just tested positive, I'm not sure I can answer it well. Should we do the last question? Is there a question? Not to travel during the, yeah, you're gonna have to make personal decision, travel or not. Yeah. Yes. So you guys, those of you who are interested on my extended conversation on this, go to the sputnikradio.com, and I gave a whole spiel there for half an hour as to why I think it's not such a bad thing as everybody's scared of. So yes, I'm not sure Omicron is as disastrous as it's being portrayed in the media. With that, thanks for questions, and off to our guest speaker, Dr. Russell Jaffe, who was with us a year and a half ago, I believe, roughly, at the beginning of it all. And yeah, very excited to hear what updates we have. And yeah, so Russell, on to you.
Thank you. The headline is that risk relates to too much bad and too little good. And when I say that, I mean to jump to the conclusion. If you're willing to invest in yourself, if you're willing to invest 5% of your time in self-care, you can essentially, and I use the word essentially in a qualified way, you can essentially reduce your risk to zero. Let me be clear. If you have enough of the good stuff and not too much of the bad stuff, your risk of a respiratory COVID virus is near zero for known reasons. For example, if you have a healthy surface to your skin and mucosa, you will produce secretory IgA and mucins and opsonins and a whole bunch of other things. But let's just focus on secretory IgA. It is a protective molecule. It is elective. You have to have enough of the good stuff and not too much of the bad stuff to make secretory IgA. The people who have catastrophes, the people who have the heart, lung, and vascular catastrophes, And just for full disclosure, I was a coagulationist before I became an immunologist, before I became whatever I am now. If you know, for example, that collagen, a protein, activates blood platelets, that was published in 1973 by Dan Dakin and myself. The point is that I hear almost no one talking enough about host hospitality. And now let's get down to the specifics. When I say 5% of your time, I mean 72 minutes. You can do the math. It is 72 minutes. And I'm going to start in the evening, because you got to start somewhere. And in the evening, you can do what's called a salt and soda bath. Baking soda and Epsom salts, a cup each, in a hot tub. You want to come out pink like a baby, not red like a lobster. So maybe I should say warm. Soak in Epsom salts and magnesium, as well as bicarbonate in the water. Because for a lot of reasons, electrophysiologic and biochemical, that helps you get restorative sleep. And while you're in, for that period of time, 5 minutes of abdominal breathing, 15 minutes of active visualization, and you get extra points for a green dichromatic light. If you're interested, I will be happy to send anyone who sends me an email the details. This is part of a book called How to Thrive in the 21st Century that gets released in about 2 months. So you're getting the preview. So you start with a salt and soda bath and green dichromatic light to reset your pineal, because the pineal controls the pituitary. And as important as the pituitary is, your pineal is actually more important. The pineal is that little thing that sits at the edge of the third ventricle. And if you've ever had a white light experience, which I hope you haven't, but if you ever have a white light experience, it's because your pineal releases a chemical called DMT into the third ventricle. About 8 years ago, when I had my own near-death experience, I can tell you from experience, that's what happens. So you start with a salt and soda bath, 5 minutes of abdominal breathing, 15 minutes of active visualization, and then 20 minutes under the dichromatic green light to reset your pineal. Yes, you get extra credit if you take enhanced uptake tryptophan and or other amino acids to help balance out your neurohormonal chemistry. Because the neurotransmitters and neurochemicals come from amino acids. The cytokines and thromboxanes come from fats. So what we eat absolutely determines the basic molecules that either renew us in balance, resilience, harmony, or leave us deficient. Too little good, too much bad is the American way. As far as Eric Rasmussen, Amory Levins, and I can tell, in a survey, anecdotal though it is, of 250,000 people who have followed our guidance, not one, as in not one, has had a catastrophe. Let me say that a different way. If you have a heart, lung, cardiovascular, or other impairment, what you have is scurvy and metabolic acidosis. And let me unpack that. Scurvy is acute lack of vitamin C due to anti-nutrient pro-oxidants that can, under stress, send most people from deficient into absolutely unmeasurable levels. Acute scurvy. Limeys, you know, from the 18th century. And metabolic acidosis. What is metabolic acidosis? Look up Julian Seifter's article, any review article he's written in New England Journal of Medicine or Harrison's Textbook of Medicine on acid-base equilibrium and metabolic acidosis. Metabolic acidosis is actually magnesium deficiency, because without magnesium, your ATP doesn't work. Without magnesium, your mitochondria doesn't work. Without magnesium, a lot of catalysts in the cell don't work. When you look at the people who have catastrophes, 100% of them lack ascorbate, and lack magnesium. Because most people don't get enough ascorbate. Most people don't get enough enhanced uptake magnesium. And when I say enhanced uptake magnesium, I mean magnesium with choline citrate. When you include choline citrate, you triple the uptake of magnesium and you overcome metabolic acidosis. There are many better forms and there are some terrible forms. The terrible forms of magnesium have almost no bioavailability. That's like oxide, carbonate, etc. The better forms include the glycinate, the pidylate, etc. But all of them saturate, all of them max out. All of them do not provide any more than 1/3 uptake of what you give. Let me translate that. The current daily value for magnesium is probably low substantially. There has been an effort for the last decade or more by Ron Eileen, Becky Costello, Andrea Rosenoff, myself, and others to get the Office of Dietary Supplements and the Food and Drug Administration to raise the need for magnesium, probably by 50% or more. Why? In the last 50 years, the need for magnesium has doubled and the availability of magnesium in the human diet has gone down by half. As my grandmother used to say, the rents are going up and the ceilings are coming down. When you have enough ascorbate in nature's form, fully buffered, fully reduced, and mineralized, when you have nature's ascorbate and enhanced uptake magnesium choline citrate, I've already said that we have 250,000 anecdotal reports and 0 catastrophe. When we get to much higher numbers and people do a proper retrospective, there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done that's being done on the fly, but being done. And too little attention is being paid to reducing risk. If you have comorbidities, weight issues and diabetes, if you have comorbidities, zinc deficiency, magnesium deficiency, if you have comorbidities, ascorbate and other polyphenolic deficiencies, if you have that, you are at risk and you can change that risk in a matter of days. Not by wishing, but by acting. And if you're interested, because I had trouble showing this to share the screen, but if you have interest, I'll send you the 72 Minutes to Save Your Life. That's an appendix in the book I mentioned. We'll also send you some information about how to thrive in the 21st century if you're interested in being proactive and upstream. So as someone who came out of internal medicine and academic NIH laboratory medicine, I came as a skeptic. And what I advocate today, I really didn't learn under Norm Levinsky at University Hospital, not even at Beth Israel with Dan Dakin and on. And I had wonderful mentors. And they said, what do we know? And I'm pretty sure they were right. So then we move on. You now get restorative sleep because you prepare for sleep, which is different than being awake. Most people get tired enough that they fall into bed. Not recommended. Prepare for restorative sleep. Then you get up in the morning. When do you get up in the morning? When you're ready to get up in the morning. Now I slip one thing past, which is in my bedroom, and I recommend this for everyone. In my bedroom, it's dark, it's cool, and there's no screens, and there's no alarms. Why? Because I get up when the sun gets up. That's a privilege. Sometimes you have to get up when you have to get up, but that's a stress. Long known to be a significant shift away from elective protective and towards survival. If you're in survival mode, your secretory IgA will be near 0 or undetectable, and that is a risk. And if you have the elective protective things that I'm recommending, your risk goes to so near 0 that statistically and mathematically we can't find the risk. The risk is a function of too much bad and distress, too little good, and essential. Essential means your body can't make it, you have to take it in. These are the antioxidant nutrients, the buffering minerals, the cofactors, but in forms that even people with impaired digestion can still assimilate, utilize, and safely eliminate without immune burden. Now, hydrate in the morning. Water plus anything else. If you just like warm water to get things started in the morning, that's absolutely fine. If you like warm broth in the morning, that's quite fine. I think there is a choice to consume calories within a 6-hour window. I've been doing this for some time. I learned this from others, but I now eat most of my calories between noon and 6 p.m. In the morning, I hydrate. In the afternoon, I hydrate. At night, I back off on the hydration. And yes, I take a family of supplements because my body cannot make them and they are essential. Now, you do have to stretch. You do have to move around. I suggest ambling. That's like walking without a purpose. And if you get extra credit if you can walk on healthy soil, healthy ground for 20 minutes. You don't have to go out and climb a mountain. I'm not a mountain climber. But I do find if I sit in my chair for too long, I begin to lock up. So take 5 minutes every hour and get up out of your chair and move around. And if you can't do that, do some kind of stretching exercises. Traeger technique, Dr. Milton Traeger. Feldenkrais technique, I was Moshe's doctor. Anat Baniel, successor to Moshe Feldenkrais. There are many movement systems that will add life to years and years to life. And then the next secret and the last for today, eat whole. Eat whole foods. You're sweet enough as you are, you don't need to add sugar. Edible oils are an oxymoron. What that means is that in seeds and nuts and foods, fats are protected. When you isolate the oil, oxygen becomes your enemy, and rancidity is masked. Notice I use the word masked, not absent, by the edible oils industry. So I do not add oil. I cook with broth. I do cook with wine. I do cook without added oil. Sometimes I use foods like seeds and nuts that if you warm them up, they'll release their oils. Sometimes I actually use a mortar and pestle to mix up the herbs and the seeds and nuts so that they more easily release their naturally protected oils. So I think we really need to rethink upstream the causes of ill health, look at the comorbidities, and for those who have them, and many, many, many do, for those who have comorbidities, we can address the causes rather than deal with the catastrophic consequences. I could go on, but I feel, because we have another very important message for today, someone said they use an 8-hour eating window. Okay. I think the notion of having your calories, your food, within a finite period of time, and then allowing your digestion to recover and to do its thing, grows stronger. The science in support of that notion grows stronger. My principal teacher, Bhante Dharmawara, was Cambodian, and he let me discover what I'm advocating today, what we have put into this book about how to thrive in the 21st century. So I appreciate the interest. I'm glad to be back. I wish you all well and a happy time over this season when it's a little dark and we look for the light to come back. And so thank you, Misha. Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you, George Washington. And may we all be well and happy and get over this fear and paranoia and hysteria soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jaffe. All right. Dr. Yager, you're up.
I'm on. Well, thank you for coming, everyone. What I'm going to do today is a meditation, which is actually something I put together from 2 different meditations, and I hope you like it. Part of it is adapted from a Sufi meditation called The Sky of Mind, and part of it is from a meditation by one of the mindfulness teachers, Dr. Christopher Willard, and he called his The Clouds in the Sky meditation. So this will be a combination of both, and it should be nice and relaxing. If you look at the sky and watch closely, you will have solved a great problem. You will see that there is a small white cloud somewhere. It is joined by another cloud, and its form is changed. Then another cloud meets them, and its form is again changed. Then one part is taken away, and 2 parts only remain. Then it grows to 10 times its size, and then 9 parts are taken away. So it is with thought. It changes constantly like the clouds. The mind is the sky. It is the sun that disperses the clouds. If you look around at others and then at yourself, you will find that there is one outstanding fact that distinguishes you from every other person that you meet. Everyone else has a head, and you do not. If you look down, you see that you have feet, legs, a trunk, but reaching upward, your body empties into nothingness. It is coextensive with the sky, endlessly open. Closing your eyes, the vast sky of mind opens out in all directions. Yet this vast skyscape is not empty. It is filled with thoughts, rippled with thought waves. First, take a moment to find a comfortable posture. You can stand, sit, or lie down. If you're sitting, uncross your legs unless you're sitting on a cushion, and rest your arms either on your thighs, on the arms of a chair, or on a table, something that's convenient. And when you feel comfortable, allow your eyes to close. Now, if that is not comfortable for you, you can stare at something in the lower half of your vision in front of you so that your eyes are focused on one place, not darting around the room. But it's better if you do this with your eyes closed, if you can. So find a comfortable posture. Uncross your feet, rest your arms, and let your eyes close. Now imagine yourself in a beautiful place in nature. Maybe it's a place that you've been, or a place that you'd like to visit, or one that exists in your imagination. But it's a beautiful place outdoors where you feel calm and relaxed and comfortable and safe. Look around, notice what's in your beautiful place. And looking up, you can see a wide blue sky with a few puffy white clouds drifting past. Notice thoughts going past in your mind. And as you notice each thought, see if you can visualize it shrinking and then place it on a passing cloud as it floats by. Take time to just notice your thoughts and feelings, placing them on a cloud and letting them drift away on your breath. You'll spend a couple of minutes doing this. Just notice your thoughts and your feelings, put them on the cloud and let them drift away as you breathe. You might notice that some clouds get stuck or move slowly. Others sail by more quickly on the air currents, and some change their shape or size. But all of them eventually pass and drift away in the sky. If they get stuck, you can even try breathing out to gently push the clouds onward. There are times when it becomes almost impossible to identify with the sky of mind. The clouds of impressions and thought forms are so dense and chaotic in their movements, there's no clarity, no tranquility, just as a sky in which dark clouds have gathered and the light is drowned out. So imagine that situation where your thoughts are coming in very fast, they may not be so pleasant, and that as you put them on the clouds, clouds are filling up the sky and the light is drowned out. In this situation, where the clouds are so dense and chaotic that they drown out the light, that's precisely the moment to remember the light. There is another factor besides the clouds, and that is the sun. When one remembers this, one can easily visualize the inner sun that dawns and by its light scatters the clouds, causing them to disperse and evaporate, and the whole of the sky to be bathed in the warm glow of the sun. So visualize that now in your clouded, dark sky, the sun always there behind the clouds, coming out, dispersing the clouds and evaporating them, making the sky bathed in the warm glow. And you know that even when the sky is dark and cloud-filled, the sun is always there behind the clouds, even if you're not aware of it. You may find yourself caught in the clouds from time to time, floating with the thoughts, caught up in the clouds themselves. And if this happens, just notice which thought pulled you in. Bring yourself back to that beautiful place with the view, breathe the clouds away, and return to watching again. So let's practice this for a while. Float with the thoughts. Get stuck in the clouds. Be aware of which thought pulled you in. Go back to your beautiful place in nature. Use your breath to gently breathe the clouds away and return to watching your thoughts again. having them shrink, placing them on a cloud, and letting them float by. Everything is changing, everything's impermanent, and it can be very enjoyable. So let's do this for a few minutes now. And finally, open your eyes and allow the sun of the sky of your mind to shine out through your glands and radiate upon all that you see. The Sufis talk about the soul being like the sun, and it can, by being aware that there is something much bigger than your little everyday self, that you can use that to get rid of some of the preoccupations that are represented by the clouds with all the thoughts. So open your eyes, allow the sun of the sky of your mind to shine out through your glance and radiate upon all that you see. You may notice that colors look different. The light may have a different quality. If you're looking at another person, you may see light around them or light in their eyes. And remember that the same way that the clouds were all interconnected in the air, that we are all interconnected on Earth. The scientists have now found that this field that fills the universe, which the mystics have talked about for thousands of years, now it's scientifically known that it's real, and that's the Higgs field. It's an energy field that fills the entire universe, and everything is part of it. This is from quantum physics. Everything. If you look at us, we are all solid individuals who feel that we're separate. But if you look at from the quantum perspective or from the atomic perspective, we are all basically an energy packet, and all the energy packets are connected with each other because we're all part of this great big field. Somehow, if you recognize the interconnectedness, then it may change your behavior. For example, you might think twice about saying something rude to someone else, and maybe keep your mouth shut instead. Recognizing that you are interconnected. You may not blame someone. For example, recently I was involved with a young child who lived in a family where the parents smoked, and somebody left a lit cigarette in an ashtray and then went into another room for a few minutes. The child found the cigarette that was lit, didn't burn himself with it, but he touched it to some furniture which caught on fire. And that was taken care of. Nobody was hurt. Do you blame the 2-year-old child for doing that? Well, he did something wrong. He set the place on fire. No. If he understood, and if the parent had understood the connectedness, the parent never would have left the cigarette in the ashtray. But certainly you can't blame someone who's ignorant for doing something that they have no control over. So that's just an example of how understanding the connectedness may help to change your behavior. And this practice with the clouds and putting your thoughts on the clouds and letting them float away is very nice because sometimes we obsess about our thoughts, we ruminate. And if you do this practice, you place the thought on the cloud and push it away with your breath or let it float away. And you realize nothing is permanent. Even the negative things, they don't last. Just accept that that's what is. And that it's all part of one big mystery that we don't understand. And our purpose is to do the best we can in wherever we're placed, with our friends and family, with our jobs, with any work that we do. Just do your best, and then just give it up to the universe, and don't be attached to the results. As long as you feel you've done your best, that's what counts. Okay. Let's just sit quietly for a few moments. And despite what's going on in the world with COVID and politics and food insecurities and stuff like that, we still have to be grateful. I think that's one of the most important things that every tradition talks about. Be grateful, because what's the alternative? Being dead? No, if we're placed here, we have some work to do, and we should be grateful for the good things in our lives. This being one of them. I think, you know, the Misha's organization is trying to help people, and many of us are either in health professions or are health consumers who are trying to do things that are good. Think about what you're grateful for. There's a very nice mindful practice that's called the 3 good things, which I think I don't remember if I did this on one of my previous things, but in any case, what you do at the end of the day is look back over your day and find 3 good things that you can be grateful for and why they were good. And they can be very trivial. For example, I ate a piece of good chocolate. That would be one for me. But, and you know, it could be something more important and bigger. Somebody said something nice to you. You got a promotion at work. You know, you saw a child smile. It could be anything. And what I tell people is, if you had a very bad day and you can't think of anything that you could be grateful for, just say, thank you for allowing me to wake up this morning, because what's the alternative? So we have a couple more minutes, so let's just think of 3 good things that happened to you in the past 24 hours, which you can be grateful for, and just why it was good. You don't have to analyze it, just list why it was good. I see that Elizabeth is coming up with a lot of good ideas. Yours may be similar or they may be very different. And for me, one of mine is, I had a good piece of chocolate today. Okay, I'm going to end now. The handout for this meditation is available. I think Janet listed where you can find it.
I did indeed.
And this is a safe meditation. So if you want to share it with someone, family or friends, it's even good for kids to do. Okay.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to turn it back to you, Janet.
Thank you. Hey, Misha, could you please come on? There you go.
Yeah, we finished a little early. So I don't know if we want to thank you, Eileen, and thank you, Russell. It was great to have you guys. This is, by the way, last meeting before the new year. So I think maybe that's why, I don't know if anybody wants to, in this last couple of minutes, say anything, or I think we shouldn't go back, though, to the medical stuff.
No,
Let's stay with
no.
each other.
Let's stay in this wonderful space we're in right now.
Yeah. I like how Dr. Yager led us to this deep internal reflection. So maybe we can stay in there and just reflect on the past year. It's been, yeah, it's been real. It's been a roller coaster. And
But every Friday, pretty much, I think I counted it up the other day. We did 48 of these a year.
wow.
48. So
Thank you, Janet.
you're welcome. At least 48 times a year you can come here on a Friday afternoon.
And by the way, if you, here's one thing I did want to say, more like a planning for next year. You know, eventually this whole COVID will shift to some kind of a chronic situation, and we don't have to stay in it. I mean, we can start bringing other topics in. So it's up for the community to say, what do we want to, what kind of speakers do we want to see? What are the issues that we want to hear? So yeah, everybody think about what are particulars. I mean, of course, we will keep on coordinating, and we'll keep on bringing guests that we feel have a lot to contribute. But I think you see how we operate. I mean, we're trying to have you as engaged as possible. And I think we want to hear what you have to what you want to hear and see. So if you know a speaker who you really particularly like, who you feel will contribute, let Janet and I know, and we'll take a look and bring the person in, and also the topics. Just think about what are the particular topics. They don't, I think actually we can even start this in January. They don't have to be COVID related. I think we'll try to still give some COVID updates on a regular basis, of course, but I think we can start moving on, I'd say. I see Cheryl has hand. I don't know if that's intended. So if it is, Cheryl.
Yes. 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 Dr. Jaffe said he was put his email address in the.
It's in the chat.
Okay. Thank you. I see it. Thank you.
So travel safely, mask up, shield up if you have to, and don't overeat sweets for Christmas, or do overeat once a year. And we'll hold everybody in our thoughts, and we'll see each other on January 7, I believe, right? Is that the first
Yes.
time? Very good.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Same to you.
Same to you, Jonathan, everybody. Bye-bye.